permission to record. Here we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So Cookie, hang on one sec, just to restate for the record that we are meeting virtually under the rules established for public advisory bodies, and we're about to take the roll to ensure that all of us can hear one another. And I'll ask all members on this call to identify themselves and the place in which they are calling from. And I'm starting with Cookie.
Cookie Heimer Blitz, Herndon, Virginia.
Aaron Lodeholtz.
Aaron Lodeholtz, Herndon, Virginia.
Marlene Blum.
Marlene Blum, Vienna, Virginia.
John Boylan.
John Boylan, Centerville, Virginia.
Tom Fleetwood.
Tom Fleetwood, Fairfax, Virginia.
Regina Coyle.
Regina Coyle, Housing and Community Development.
Jerry Poggi.
Jerry Poggi, calling from Vienna, Virginia.
Ken McMillan.
Ken McMillan, calling from West Falls Church, Virginia.
Tom Barnett.
Good morning. My name is Tom Barnett, calling from Reston, Virginia.
Chris Siegler. Chris, could you unmute and let us know? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Chris
Not at all.
Siegler, County Attorney's Office, Fairfax County.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Malia.
Malia Strobel, Fairfax, Virginia.
And I have a phone number, 703-861-0782. If you could unmute and identify yourself and the location you're calling from. So I have somebody calling in by phone, 703-861-0782. If you could unmute and identify yourself and where you're calling from. Okay.
Carrie,
Yes.
Good morning. This is Rip.
Oh.
Sullivan. I'm actually moving, but I'm currently in McLean, Virginia, but that'll change over the next hour or so.
You never know whose sketchy characters are hanging on. And my name is Carrie Wilson, and I am also calling from Herndon, Virginia. And with that, I'd like to have a motion that all members on this call can be heard.
Seconded.
So moved. This is Sullivan.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
great. Any nays or abstentions? No. And then Mr. Poggi, I will turn the meeting over to you.
Thanks so much, Carrie, and thanks everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate today. We're in the thick of the county developing its legislative strategy for the next upcoming session of the Virginia State Legislature. And so we wanted to hold our call today, our inaugural meeting of the Legislative Policy Committee, so we can review the materials appropriate to that and come back hopefully with a recommendation to the Executive Committee for their action in a timely way to address what we would hope would be the strongest plank for affordable housing in the county's legislative agenda. I'm going to recognize that wedding bells seem to be ringing in October, just like they do in June. So we're missing our co-chair today, Shelley Murphy, who is newly married and honeymooning in France. So, and Carrie's going to leave early today because she's the mother of a bride that will be united in wedded bliss as of this afternoon. Today's meeting is really a start of what we hope will be a long process aiding the whole of the Affordable Housing Advisory Council's functions. I do want to urge everybody to make sure you read each other's bio in our large briefing book so we become more familiar with each other and build a stronger community. To enhance our understanding of our roles and responsibilities, I just added to the chat the March 25th 2022 strategic plan. And there are 3 elements that are labeled under policy, budget, legislation. It's the 3rd one that I think we're actualizing today, which is to provide comment about the county's strategic legislative plan for the next session. Oh, thank you so much for bringing that to the fore. This is just to concretize our understanding that our roles and responsibilities really are fleshed out in our strategic planning activity. You don't need to read all of this right now, but just ground ourselves, because this could help us ensure that we are actually executing all the things that might fall into our bucket to help advise the whole of the Affordable Housing Advisory Council. We know we're going to be in a 30-day legislative session this year, so it's abbreviated as compared to the even year terms. So there's fewer bills that could be introduced by members of the legislature. And, we have to be respectful for how much time and intensity of observation will need to be done into this shortened period. I wanted to make sure also that we begin to focus. The 3rd item on our agenda is really to look at the draft legislative agendas and human services resource paper, and ask the first question: does anybody have any reaction to this? Anybody have anything negative to say about it? It's ostensibly the framing language that's been used in the past with a few enhancements. And I operate from the presumption that since this has preceded us, it's something that we will be capable of supporting individually and recommending that we do so as a whole committee. But let's open it up to that conversation. You've had plenty of time to look at it, and you could look at the video of the legislative board's supervisors legislative committee online. So any thoughts or questions that you would like to raise? That's terrific. Sounds like.
No,
there-
I
Oh,
actually.
I'll go
I
ahead,
actually-
Marlene. I
I'm
would
sorry, I
hope
didn't
you
get
would
to the
speak up.
Yellow. Yeah, it's more of a question than it is, and I'm just wondering, I'm not sure who can answer it or if we can answer it. I thought it was interesting that in both the priorities, housing under affordable housing in the priority section, and then again, pretty much the same language in the human services paper, that there is this new language, which is stated very emphatically, basically, that says support retaining existing local land use authority, allowing localities to craft solutions that are appropriate for their communities, including innovative ideas and solutions, et cetera. Not that I'm opposed to it. I think it's very well stated, but I was just wondering if it's being inserted in here because the board is concerned about something. Is this a preventive? I mean, are there rumors out there that something's going to happen that the board is worried about, and that this is aimed at preventing it from happening? I'm just wondering.
Mr. Chairman.
So Tom has an answer for us, I hope.
I bet he does.
This is Sullivan. I'd love to comment too.
Rip, I'll defer to you and then jump in with my comments, please.
Well, Marlene, I don't know of any rumors. This is a guess on my part, but an educated guess. The board is always vigilant in trying to ensure that it protect and obviously other localities protect their ability to make decisions locally. And I don't know of any rumors, but it's not unheard of for the General Assembly to, or for someone within the General Assembly at least, to have the bright idea that maybe we ought to be making some decisions in Richmond rather than in localities. And so I'm guessing this is just a preventive or an effort to state the county's position in case there were any in case there were any doubts. I am aware of no efforts to have any legislation in Richmond right now which would sort of Bigfoot local planning decisions on affordable housing. I have seen, and actually I've had people suggest to me some other areas in which Richmond might try to take some authority from localities, but not in the affordable housing world.
Thank you, Rip. Tom?
Jerry, I see my friend Mr. Sigler has his hand up, and Mr.
Oh,
Sigler
I'm
is
sorry.
far better versed on these issues than I am, so
Thank you.
I'll defer to him. Chris?
Thanks, Tom. So I wasn't going to speak, but the question I think goes directly to what I do. As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, I'm part of the county attorney's office, but for those of you who don't know, I'm also part of the county's legislative team. So I'll go to Richmond in January and deal with Delegate Sullivan on whatever these issues are of taking away local government authority he has heard about. I'll tell you that with respect to the question on why the affordable housing section was written in the way it was, part of that I think was because of board direction. If you think back, or if you want to after the meeting, go back and look at some of our prior year packages, you'll see that affordable housing is called out in a number of sections because housing touches on everything. So it was put in a lot of different sections, but it was never, as far as I know, it was never specifically segregated into its own section. And the board, I think, wanted to see it done that way. So there was an effort made to do that. And to call it out specifically. Now, I think the program also touches on it in other locations like the issue paper, as you referenced, because again, as far as human services go, one of the basic building blocks of that is affordable housing. If you don't have housing, you can't go to the next step. So that was the effort. And then I wanted to touch on the rumors just briefly, because I have heard some rumors, and they're just rumors. But if you watch the news or read the news, you've probably seen that the governor has gone on a listening tour throughout the Commonwealth on issues of affordable housing. And one of the things that has come out of that listening tour is that the governor makes statements, and these are not direct quotes, these are probably my biased interpretations of his quotes, but his message has been along the lines of, the Commonwealth needs more affordable housing. I think we all agree with that. But the reason or the fault of why there isn't more affordable housing in the Commonwealth is because of localities, and that local governments use their zoning ordinance to prevent that. And they use processing times, and when DPD gets an application, there's a review process, and they use that review process to delay it, and it takes too long, and it's localities' problems, and we need to fix that. These localities don't need more money. They just need to deal with these ancient zoning codes and processing times. So I've heard rumors that there's going to be an effort this session to deal with that. And it seems like one of the governor's projects may be something along the lines of what Arlington is looking at right now, and that is the elimination of single family zoning. And that means that if you have a property that's zoned single family, you could by right not just put a single family house, you could put a duplex or a quadplex or whatever. It's to get at this issue of missing middle housing.
Correct.
And for those of you who are interested, go to Arlington's website and look at what they've been doing, because I did, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating because what their study is showing is that if they put this proposal in place, that the types of housing that would be affordable to folks in Arlington is in the range of people making incomes of $115,000 or something like that. So I think there's this conflation of affordable housing and missing middle housing. They're not necessarily the same thing, but I think that that's one of the things that we may see and you can also go on the web and look at Minneapolis as a case study. Minneapolis has actually done this. They've eliminated single family zoning, and there's been some studies since that time on the success of that program. And what Minneapolis has found is that they get very few applications for that kind of housing. I think it's been less than 20. So it hasn't been a successful program for Minneapolis. And since Delegate Sullivan is on the line and I have his ear,
I'm all ears.
I would suggest to Delegate Sullivan that doesn't necessarily work, and that when Minneapolis decided to do that, Minneapolis decided to do it, not the state of Minnesota. So the whole state of Minnesota doesn't do it. It's just Minneapolis. And in areas that have done that, it has been an individual city like Arlington. Arlington's studying it. They're doing the right thing. They're studying it. They're having public hearings. They're considering it. Will they do it? I don't know. They may. And someday perhaps Fairfax County decides to do it. But I think it's concerning that if this happens, if a bill like, and there was a bill very similar to this, I think back in 2020, Delegate Samira had it, and it didn't make it out of committee, but I think it would be very problematic for that kind of thing to come out of Richmond. And then I'll touch on briefly, and then I'll shut up. I'll touch on very briefly this idea of restricting review times for localities. That's very dangerous, as you all know. I mean, we use those review times to make sure we're engaged in smart planning, smart growth, making sure there's no mistakes. And if you rush the time, there's going to be problems. So I'm going to go to Richmond and advocate against those types of things if they're filed, but that's the rumors that I'm hearing.
Thanks, Chris. And I just wanted to note for everybody that Kerry has put into the chat the locus of the Arlington report. So if we want to look at that, please take a time at your leisure to do that. Tom, did you have anything you wanted to add on top of that?
The only other thing I would say to Chris's comments are that, while I certainly have a natural reason to be sympathetic to the views of some of our development partners about the length of the review process, the long-term acceptance of the work that we do in our community depends in part on the fact that our projects go through the same process as anybody else, and that our projects have been vetted the same way that anybody else's have been. And so I think, there are real, I have real concerns about anything that would cause that review process to be truncated in any way myself. So
Tom, just let me say, I think, Chris, thank you so much for enlarging our view of the challenges, maybes, could happen, the consequences. But I think those are very large topics for which we need to have more on the table than we've prepared for this meeting. And I'd like to just keep us focused on how does AHAC play a supportive role in getting the strength of our positions on affordable housing articulated in this legislative session document. So if anybody else has additional points they'd like to raise, I'd like to park some of these issues off for a future discussion and maybe planning process at the executive.
Ken has his hand.
I'm sorry, Ken.
Hey, Jerry, I've got a quick comment too. Go ahead, Ken.
Great. Thanks, Marlene.
I just wanted to say that in my experience, coming from a lesser point of view than most of you all have, but I would say that single family zoning is one of the hallmarks of keeping of the NIMBY issue. And I believe that the zoning and the planning commission both have, let's see, a dog in that fight. by keeping up with those antiquated rules and regulations that keep people from thinking about affordable housing. I just heard that Tyson's Corner, there's a place in Tyson's Corner that have now changed their desire to go for affordable housing to building business units instead of affordable housing. So that right there is justifiable for us to pursue this at a later date.
Well, thanks, Ken. But again, I'm just going to point to this being an area of great complexity and for which we really want to have a more structured discussion. It's not really the topic of today's agenda, except for the generalities of how do we put important perspective into the legislative position papers for the county. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, Jerry,
comment?
this is
Rip.
Jerry,
Yeah,
this is
go
Rip.
ahead.
Yeah, Chris, come see me. There's a reason Samara's bill didn't go anywhere when the Democrats were in control. You make a good point about the governor. I don't get his memos, obviously, but you make a good point about sort of the language he has been using. So I guess, Jerry, just to put a bow on this, I don't think there's any question that the inclusion of that language in the boards and our documents is important and proper.
Great.
I'm fine with it. Can't wait to talk to Chris about more rumors in Richmond.
Great. Well, I think
Delegate
it's,
Sullivan.
I'm grateful that Chris is on the call today to give his expert knowledge, which may be broader and deeper than some of us on this very committee. So we really do need your participation with us. And I'm glad that you could connect to Rip on this matter. Anybody else have any comments about the draft?
Carrie has her, Carrie.
I'm sorry, Carrie?
I just love when somebody else is chairing and has to figure out all the hands up and everything.
Can't see them is the problem.
Echo that. Thanks to Chris. I think that's helpful. And Rip, just a couple of things. I think the human services issues paper and the priorities, yes, things are in sync. And for AHEC, we have discussed this intersection of efforts that will ensure the resource allocation and efforts that ensure policies from the state level that allow us to develop and preserve housing on that issue. For AHEC, I think calling out some of the items around it's in there, but just to reinforce the trust fund. And then I don't know exactly where it goes, but in terms of the LIHTC allocation, there's great concern, as we know, that Fairfax has incentivized so much building, and a lot of projects are going to go unfunded. And so that worries me about the growth in the future. And then, as always, I put the note about rent control because somehow I think AHEC's paper has got to address, again, coming out of the pandemic, what we're seeing in terms of eviction prevention efforts. Coming out of that, we're seeing another negative impact, and we can just tie it as a note. We'll see what real legislation develops, but that and the need to include services, mental health supports, Medicaid waivers, things that link services to housing, again, from the state level is a priority. And Chairman Howell, the Finance Committee, has been a real proponent of that. And I think something that I know Jerry proposes, and before we lose Rip to whichever locality he's driving through these days, I think one of the things we want to see, Rip, if we can have a conversation with perhaps the Northern Virginia delegation, get a sense of things at some point in the future and before the formal hearing. So just kind of seeing how we can pull some of this together for Northern Virginia.
Thank you much, Carrie. I think it's obvious to all of us on this call that we really have very strong connection to leadership in the Richmond legislature, and we should be making sure our ties are as strong as possible. So we'll rely upon you and Rip to help guide us on how best to do that. I'd be happy to play any assisting role with what you just discussed. And Cookie, I'll go to you. Thank you for putting it into the chat line, which blazes in front of me, and I don't have to look for your hand.
That's okay. Just a point of information regarding rent control or rent stabilization. You know, some of you know that I'm a part-time resident in Florida in Orange County, which is very democratic. And they have on the ballot a rent stabilization item, which is really, I won't get into the details, but when you read it, it's very limited. And you can imagine there is a grand hoo-ha. I have gotten lots of emails, how about this is the worst idea in the universe. But I will be following it for personal interest and because of what I do here. And I will get back to you. My sense is that it is not going to pass. But it's a first attempt and kudos to them. We will see what happens.
Yeah, thanks so much, Cookie. And I think this is also an area that we should become more knowledgeable collectively. Some are already, so that we avoid pitfalls in seemingly glittery objects to be proposed as legislation that may have dire outcomes later on. So thanks, everybody. I'm not hearing any burning additional comments about the draft legislative document and human resources issues paper. So let's move on to the next group of issues.
Jerry, do you want us to recommend that AHAC take a position vis-a-vis the Board of Supervisors on this?
I was going to do that after our
that's
next
right.
group of topics
Right, that's
to
what I wanted
discuss.
to know. Do you want anything happen now or later? So
I
later.
think after this very next agenda item, which would open the envelope for at least a generalized discussion about additional legislative policy options that we may or may not want to add. But I'm sensing a good consensus that we are fine with where the current draft packages are. And I don't want to have us get to the next section and have people say, well, I don't like this in the draft. So let's move on. And I'm presuming that everybody is on board with that, because the next agenda item really looks at three different portions of policy discussions that have happened prior to the draft legislative package. And they all should bear some thinking on our part. Doesn't mean they have to be acted upon. It just is to open up our envelope for thinking about this. The first is the manufactured housing report, which actually had 6 recommendations in it, written in, I think, of a more aspirational language as opposed to very specific, concrete state legislative bills. And I know there are a few people on the call who are part of that manufactured housing task force, if you wanted to speak to them. But, those 6 were in the hot links that were, oh, thanks, Regina. She's trying to show us the 6 items. Too small a font for my tired old eyes, but I have them in larger font elsewhere, Regina. So does anybody want to speak to these items or make any recommendations regarding them? Ostensibly, they're saying we need much more earlier notice to all the affected parties. We need to have timing and processes that would allow for counter proposals to be done. And we need to, so you could read them as they lie right here. Anybody have any open comment? And I can't see.
I do.
Oh, Mary, I thought you would have something to say. Please go forth.
Jerry, could Mary please state for the record where she's calling from, just so we can
Correct.
get it?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm calling from the Mount Vernon district of Fairfax County at my home.
Thank you, Mary. Anybody not be able to hear Mary? Not hearing any, we include you in our merry band today. Go forth.
Okay, so we've been through 2 of these mobile home sales, where we're in the midst of the second one. And the thing that one thing is, I think we should ask for not 90 days, but 120 days. The original proposal asked for 90 days and got 60. And the people involved right now are thinking, actually, our attorney said 6 months would be better, but I don't think we'll get that. So I think we should at least go for 120 days after a notice is made that the park is for sale. But the main problem we're having is that the notice is made after the owner of the park has signed a contract to sell the park. And after a contract is signed, both parties then have various penalties and liabilities for backing out of the contract, even if they do want to take an offer from the residents. And I don't know, I'm going to leave it to Rip and some other of the land use attorneys to figure out how to deal with that. It may be that the notice has to be given before a contract is signed. This one at least asks to disclose the terms of a contract, which is very helpful in making a counter offer. But once a contract is signed, it usually has some penalties, some financial penalties for backing out of it. And you can sue, well, either party can sue the other one for backing out of it. That's what people are saying right now about the issue that's going on. So if maybe Rip and some of the others who know more about this could tell us if there's any way to write this so that there's not this contract issue.
Anybody want to respond to that? I know Rip is, I think, moving as we speak, so I don't know whether he catches everything. And I don't want to put it into his court if he's not prepared to answer. So,
Hey, Jerry.
yep, Tom.
So I want to say on this one that I agree with Mary about, advocating for 120 days. Now having been through sort of 1.5 of these, I guess I would put it, the more time, the better. And, even 90 days is incredibly tight. So, I would suggest that we advocate for 120 days and hope, maybe we can get to 90 days, but let's, I agree with Mary on that point. I think that we need to recommend, specifically that, the penalties within the penalties of terminating the contract need to be among the key terms that are expected to be disclosed. So I very much agree on that one. With respect to the question of the issue of the contracts, the way the state code is written right now is just to level set, is that it says that the seller must consider the counteroffer, but it does not require them to accept the counteroffer. So I would suggest that that the issue of the contracts may be a bridge too far, but I would defer to Mr. Sigler on that one, and see where we go from there. But I agree on the 120 days based now on real experience that we have had and are having, and I think understanding what those penalties are in the contracts is important too.
Well, thank you so much. Mary, you still have your hand up, although I'm going to make a recommendation that we form a little committee out of this. If there's no opposition to crafting something that could be a cogent recommendation to the boards of supervisors on this very matter, that we not try to word craft it in this group at this time, but we rather delegate it to an informed crew involving HCD as well as others on the call who have greater knowledge about this. So Mary, go forward, and then Ken, and then Marlene.
Jerry, if I may, just very
Oh.
briefly,
Yeah.
given the time of where we are in the legislative process,
Right.
I would suggest that if there's going to be that this be included in a letter from AHAC, that that we can help craft for you, but that we keep this sort of moving in terms of
Correct.
Process. I don't think we have time to form another
Okay.
committee here. But I think that if there's a consensus on these points, that we can draft a letter that is responsive to it.
I'd be happy to delegate that. Any other opinions, Mary, and then Ken?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. The right of first refusal may take care of that, but I don't know if that's something that'll pass this governor. Anyway, I think a little more discussion on this would be good in a smaller group.
Okay. Ken?
I too agree with that, with what Tom
Great.
said, and time is of the essence, especially for this meeting, but I want to make clear that you're in most of the parks that we have, we're dealing with low-income families. Most of them happen to be Latino, okay? And so that there may not be that kind of understanding, especially when you start talking about legal matters. And for someone to slip this under the carpet, pardon my expression, to get by and hoodwink people into doing something that they may not even be aware of or have the legalese to understand it, is one of the basic problems with ruling by the hand instead of by the law. And if we don't have the law, I think that there should be some legislating in there that even
Thanks, Ken.
120 days, is still not long enough for people to get prepared for that. So
Thanks, Ken, but I'm recognizing we have 21 minutes left, and I know we have hard stops for Tom. Kerry may have to leave, and Rip as well. So I think we have a solution to this important question, and I don't hear any opposition to that
Well,
at this moment.
Jerry, but
Yeah,
I think
Marlene.
I do think we need to be specific about how we're going to take action if we're going to have any credibility. Okay.
Correct.
So I want to come back to what Tom said. The AHAC doesn't meet again until the new year. So but the executive committee has a meeting in November. The board approves their legislative package in December. So if we want, and the AHAC exec committee can act on behalf of AHAC. What I would suggest is that at the November meeting of the AHAC executive committee, that our committee recommend that the executive committee send a memo to the Board of Supervisors on saying that AHAC supports, the legislative package at the draft with the following addition or changes. And we're going to talk, if we agree on the manufactured housing might be one of them. But if we don't make it formal and act on it, then we have no say. So we can't just leave it to, let's send a letter. Let's decide today that this committee makes a recommendation to the exec committee, that the exec committee take the following action. And the action would be to send a memo to the board expressing AHAC support for the draft legislative program with the following changes, additions, whatever. And we're going to decide on those right now.
Correct. So the right now.
I so
and
move.
You so moved.
Yes, I do.
But the question, I'll come back to you just for clarification, Marlene. I thought we had agreed that Tom and his team would craft a draft language that would be reviewed.
Yeah, the language can be drafted
Right,
to specifics, but the position we can state today.
correct.
And if our
Okay.
position is that we, want 120 days instead of 90 days, then that's our position.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying. If we just leave it mushy like that, nobody's making the decision, and ultimately it'll destroy our credibility.
Thank you.
when we're boards, authorities, and commissions that are appointed by the Board of Supervisors have a responsibility to take action in a responsible way. I mean, that's the way it works. It can't be just mushy. And unfortunately, AHAC isn't meeting again as a whole until the new year. So the exec
Okay.
committee has to take action. Our job is to make a recommendation to the executive committee so that they can do their work efficiently, shall we say. They don't have to debate it. What they'll have is a recommendation from this committee whose
That
job
will-
is to do this kind of thing.
Correct.
That's all. So I move that we do that.
So anybody seconding?
I
Marlene's?
second. I second.
Okay, second, any other conversation about this? Okay, so it's moved, seconded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Please say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you so much, Marlene, and hopefully that provides good guidance to the rest of us who serve on the XCOM. There are two other reports that were embedded in our call to action today. The one from McGuire Woods and the one from the Joint Legislative and Audit Review Commission. There's great depth to all of them. McGuire Woods is, very detailed, and it deals with explicit land use planning, zoning issues that I think are extraordinarily important, and we are gifted by having their report. But the specific recommendations, I think, require more time on our part to explore them and to frame recommendations that could be enacted by either the county or by AHAC recommendation to the county or to the state legislature. So, let's just make sure we are focused on some of those. Pages 21 to 26 give, I think, 3 major recommendations. And then there's also an embedded recommendation about community land trust. Today is our time to just lift these up and get any additional comments about them. So why don't we talk a little bit about McGuire Woods for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll give 5 minutes to discussing the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission. Anybody have anything they want to add to their reflection on McGuire Woods? I think it's a very important report, and it gives us an enormous amount of opportunity to cite it as we reflect upon policy changes and needs, because they get very specific in terms of specific legislative fixes. Not feeling a burning passion to say, why don't we take recommendation number 3 and flesh it out? I will let this be a statement to ourselves that we really need further reflection, and maybe we need other people for us to engage in thinking about this. Any comments about that? I'm seeing a couple of yes shaking heads. So,
Mary has her.
Oh, sorry, let me look here. Mary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just to add to our future discussion, I'd point out that item number 6 under state recommendations is that it does recommend adding missing middle housing types to residential zones, whether that means doing away with single family or some other thing. That is a recommendation that comes out of a lot of studies on racial segregation and increasing affordable housing for working class, middle income people. So
I think they have a great graphic as well that I would urge people to look at, because it gives kind of a visual explanation of housing types that are essential for fulfilling that missing middle goal. Anybody else? Okay, then the last one that I wanted to just lift up, because it's in a similar fashion, is the Joint Legislative keep on falling down and remembering JLARC, Joint Legislative and Audit Review Commission. This is an official group of the state legislature to come forth with recommendations on affordable housing. I think it has a strength of authority from the state legislature that should allow us to look at their 18 recommendations and 2 policy options to be considered. So I think this will be drawing a lot of attention around the state from groups like ours, but also many other groups, and might fuel some intentions within the state legislative session this coming year. So we should be watchful about that, even if we're not determinatively acting on them today. Any questions on that, or comments or suggestions? Marlene?
Yeah, it's probably a question for Chris and or Tom. I was just wondering if the Board of Supervisors takes position, or I don't know the process. Does the board ever take a position on such a set of recommendations, or do they, wait to see how it turns out vis-a-vis the General Assembly's actions, or, does the board, I don't know if there's any history on that or anything that has typically gone on, but I was just curious.
So I'll try to answer that. I mean, I think typically the board doesn't take an official position on a JLARC report. I can't think of a time when they've done that, but they would. How do I want to say it? If there were bills that came during session as a result of this JLARC study, then they'd probably be in my committees, and I would be bringing those bills to the board in a legislative committee session during the session, and they would weigh their options and whether they wanted to weigh in on particular bills.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions or comments? So I think we've had a fair chance to review and discuss some of these. We didn't do them at length, but I think it's giving us some clarity at our first meeting of this committee to framing work that we might want to explore before our next meeting, or setting an agenda for ourselves for future meetings. We have had a motion that was made, passed, and approved regarding the acceptance of the draft language with some recommendations for additional changes. So I think we're past item number 6 on our agenda, correct? Number 5 on our agenda. So we move to the more amorphous, for the next 10 minutes, other items to consider. And that's to give ourselves as members the ability to shape the next agenda, or to offer open comments about our work in general. So does anybody have comments that they would like to offer at this moment? We can discuss setting the next agenda and meeting time after that, but I wanted this other category just to be a more open one for members of this committee to raise issues that they think we should begin exploring, and how we would go about doing that for ourselves. I have a few questions that I'd love for us to.
John has his hand up.
Sorry. John, go ahead.
Thanks, Jerry. Hey, so I predict that Chris is going to have a wonderful, successful session, and all the board will celebrate their successes from the legislative, actions out of the next term. The only thing, and I feel really confident saying that, because what we've laid out is really something that everybody can agree to. I would, if I were in Chris's shoes and Tom's, I would do the exact same thing. But for us, it's an opportunity to push to be more bold. We are in one of the most unique times in history, and not to overextend this like CNN and Fox, but with the crisis from all the things that are happening with the inflation, with recession, with the change of Congress, it's going to be divided government. We're going to have, regardless of what you call it or when it happens or what it is, we're going to have some problems, and people are going to be evicted. People will become homeless. We're going to have a crisis in housing. What happens if one of the governors sends a busload, 2 busloads from the border up here? Most likely not going to send it to Governor Youngkin's state. But if it gets redirected from another state to come here, do we say no, or do we say yes? Where the bus gets dropped off halfway across the Wilson Bridge and they start walking this way, right? So I think all those things are reality. If we end up, just like we did with the Afghanistan refugees, if we get airplane loads of refugees from Ukraine, if things get worse, if there is a false flag or dirty bombs, these things are all reality. And I've spent a lifetime as an adult planning and trying to strategize for those kinds of opportunities. I know we do it here. I've been part of the disaster response plan with the county. We need to be bold in what our ask is for the legislative session. I know we don't put numbers in here, but we as an AHAC should be thinking about, what is it that Tom and Tom need in order to make the homes, the housing, and the homelessness something that we can work with? Is it $5 million? Is it $50 million? Is it a down payment on something? We need to be bold. We need to be thinking about it. And in terms of, and we're not there yet. And that's why my expectations, Jerry, you're doing a great job. Exactly what I think we need to do. But I would like to see us build to. I was at a transportation breakfast down in National Harbor last week. I sat with a delegate and he's like, I already got my 14 bills. I only have so many. I already got them. Everybody's saying, hey, they're trying to get ahead of it, they're trying to plan. He says, I got them. We can just do a survey of our senators and delegates and say, do you have anything on housing or affordable housing or homelessness in your list of bills that you plan to do? Do you have a hole? Are you looking for something? What's the plan? That's an easy one. Yes or no. And it's a list. Who are our friends and foes around the state? We need to start that list, right? We probably have some friends that have similar problems in the bigger cities down in Norfolk, et cetera. We have some foes that we know that have been against some of these policies and some of the issues that will hold us back. That's fine. We need to engage them. There's no reason we can't have a discussion about it. The governor has said some positive things. Who on his administration supports that and is feeding them that information? We need to know those people. And so it's almost a database or a spreadsheet of the folks that we need to look at. Ultimately, this helps Chris in his position, or he can help us out. But these are the things that I think the discipline, and as we mature this committee, can help us. And probably next year, when we get more discipline about the ask and what it is, we can work that sooner. Just like Joe gave us a wonderful presentation about the budget. The fact is, the real experts get in before the budget is released from the executive. It's helping Tom and Tom make sure it's inserted on the front side as part of the offering and the policy. So we need to define our terms, define our goals, some of the things we want to see as an AHAC. And as we break it down with these subcommittees, it becomes much more acceptable for us to figure out what those plans and actions are in order to achieve our strategic objectives. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks so much, John. I think it's a terrific push to us to be bold and to think outside of the confines that Chris and Tom have to operate within the county government and the strictures of their participation in the Richmond arena. But we have Ken, Cookie, and Mary to talk, and I count 4 minutes to our end of our 10 o'clock time. I could extend a little bit over, but I know people can't who already are on the call. So Ken, be as quick as possible.
Hey, Jerry,
Yeah.
this is Rip. I hate to
Oh, hi.
Bigfoot Ken, but I actually do have to get off in about 90 seconds. So I just wanted to react to John. I love that sentiment, John. By the way, I have room on my dance card. I do not have 15 bills yet. So I stand ready to answer either your call or more likely Claudia Arco's call. That's how this often happens, is Claudia will call and say, would you carry the following bill? But I just applaud the overall theme. We do need to be bold. We are in just a perilous time, and we ought to take the governor up on not everything he's suggesting. If what Chris is suggesting is real, but we ought to take him up at least on his enthusiasm, his expressed enthusiasm for helping in this space. And we're all in the process of trying to figure out exactly who in the administration is doing what, because it's still been a little loosey goosey. But I'm ready to serve and happy to be obviously this group's advocate in our caucus and in the General Assembly with the governor, of course, with the board. So I hate to do this to you, but I got to move on. I apologize for taking so long.
Terrific sentiments, Rip. We're thankful for your willfulness to be a leader on our collective behalf. So in working with Chris, I'm sure we'll come up with a better long-term plan around the cycles of policy proposals. Ken, quickly, and then Mary and Cookie. Cookie and Mary.
I just want to say that thanks a lot. That was probably the most raising, get out in front of the bus kind of thing that I've ever heard. And I appreciate the way you stated it. So time is of essence, and we don't want to be caught in the mainstream of things happening when we have such a proactive team. I'm surrounded by a lot of great minds here in this committee. And I ask you all to do exactly what John did. Let's think outside of the box and prepare ourselves for the next peril. We know what it is. We've been dealing with it for years. So let's now head it off at the, whatever they call it, head it off at the blah, blah, blah. I won't go into that, but yeah, let's do this and let's do it right, and we
Thanks,
have
Ken.
the incentive, so.
Thanks. Cookie.
If we're going to dream big, write to council. And this is something that Mary had brought to our attention, and we spoke informally in a meeting to already a state legislator about this, but it's something that really impacts eviction and at-risk people.
Thank you so much. Mary?
Yeah, I just want to point out that we affordable housing people mainly focus on building more affordable housing, but meanwhile, because of some of the situations that John mentioned, we're losing a lot of market rate affordable housing right now. And right to council is one of the things that can help with that. And another thing, there is a bill already in for rent stabilization, which is, I guess, slightly different from rent control, but it is something that is necessary if you're going to maintain any market rate housing. We have no market rate housing under 40% AMI, and we're really losing fast anything under 60% AMI. And it's going to take a lot of building to make up for the 9,000 units of market rate housing that we had. I don't think we still have them in Fairfax County. So we should be supporting tenants' rights legislation as well as building types legislation.
Thank you all. This was very fruitful and powerful meeting. So, I think we will get back to you. The meeting is being recorded. We could share it with you when that becomes available. You could share it with others. I think building a stronger web of relationships so that we are timely and effective in early advocacy with specific county benefits, clear and precise in our mind, is really what we want to do for the long haul. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn, and we'll get back to you. We'll do a doodle poll with more advance notice to get everybody who is officially a part of this committee to hopefully make the next meeting. The next meeting, I don't think can occur until after AHAC's executive committee meets and transmits the letter that we've just urged them to pass on to the boards of supervisors. And any reflections that you have after the meeting, I'm open to discussing them with you, hopefully to make us be the most collaborative working group we can form. So
A
with
motion
that,
to
I'll entertain a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second,
Thank you. All in favor, say
Thanks.
aye.
Thanks, everybody.
aye.
Great, thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Have a good day.
Take care. Terrific meeting.